What up, friends? We're the Real Monsters, and today we're going to be reviewing the newest Tom Odell album, Monsters. This is the fourth studio album overall by the Sussex-born artist Tom Odell. Tom's always had a pretty down-to-earth aesthetic for him, combining nice elements of singer-songwriter, indie, and pop to some pretty engaging results. The dynamic nature of his second album, Wrong Crowd, instantly captivated me and is still my favorite project of his to date. However, his more raw material also isn't half bad. However, I will say that this new record from him does show the limits of these sounds, alongside feeling fairly rushed and cobbled together thanks to the COVID pandemic and the fact that it was recorded under that. Numb, however, the opening track on the project, isn't a bad first impression, reminding me a lot of tracks from Wrong Crowd, which I love. The fuzziness of the beat creates a warm sound in contrast to the more colder tones of the piano, and it's interesting to see a Tom Odell track be so beat-focused. It's a lot darker and more sultry compared to a lot of his other material, really giving this song an identity. I love his exasperated and tired vocals, showing how just fed up and over it he is about this breakup that he's dealing with. I really do wish that the rest of the album followed this track's example, even down to the weird electro bridge that it has. Over You Yet also sort of follows the more poppy moments of Wrong Crowd, opting for a very driving bass and low-key piano for its backdrop. It really fits the vibe of like being depressed at a party, not really enjoying life despite trying to keep up appearances that you do. Like, even when the chorus tries to be upbeat, it has that hidden sorrow that I appreciate. The piano addition to the final pre-chorus and the outro really bring everything back down to earth and wrap up the song nicely. Money is definitely one of the weirdest tracks on the project. It has such a dire sound to it, from the repeated lines during the chorus and just the very sarcastic tone throughout the entire track. It has the dark aesthetic to describe how money is often the be-all, end-all for a lot of people, how we use other people as stepping stones to get it, and how we try to posturize as good people because we have it. Darkly elegant piano and haunting vocals convey all of this very well, especially as the track almost takes on a more maniacal touch as it progresses, showing how it corrupts people when money is the only thing that you have. After this, unfortunately, the album largely gets much more standard and uninteresting. Tears That Never Dry is a decent folky styled track with some more intricate acoustic guitar moments. However, not much is really done with the song's progression or flow. It definitely has that sort of soft cope nature to it, like you're just trying to find these little things to keep you happy. However, I feel like adding more elements to the track could have made it feel less static. Monsters version 2, I guess the title track of the project, is just the epitome of underused potential. Being about anxiety, the fact that it has such an upbeat instrumental really doesn't do the subject matter very much justice. It feels like a by-the-books top 40 pop tune, which sounds really out of place and awkward coming after the relatively experimental first leg of the record. The instrumental, again, largely doesn't change throughout the track's runtime, and the addition of the childlike background vocals near the end is just too cheesy for its own good. However, I will say that as far as ballads go, Lose You Again is among the better ones on the record. The vocal cadence and flows almost feel like Leonard Cohen at times, and the lyrics are a lot more relatable and down-to-earth, which is pretty nice. Tom lets his vocals shine amid the very somber piano, sort of crooning about how he's failed expectations and how a lot of these things in his life just aren't working out the way he thought they would. It's definitely a notable moment on the record, especially with its approach to its relationship-themed lyrics. Fighting Fire with Fire is by far the blandest song instrumentally on this album. I can appreciate and agree with the anger in the lyrics about the Trump administration and all the shit we had to go through back in 2020, but man, you could have had a way harder instrumental to do these topics justice. The bland trap beat and repetitive piano just do not get these feelings across, especially how crucial it is to get us in the right headspace for these lyrical themes. However, I will say though that I do really like the pre-chorus lines of "I'm sick and I'm tired of white messiahs and climate deniers, listen to the choir." Me and My Friends is an interesting little folk pop tune about having a good time with your friends and appreciating your connection with others. It's a bit too sweet and like show tuney at times, however, I do appreciate the sentiment and the piano flourishes are pretty fun. It's not a groundbreaking song, but it's not bad. Despite it all, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is a pretty great ending song for the project if you're not counting the demo version of Monsters that's the last song on the album. The lo-fi guitar and warm aesthetic have a nice feel, and I like how the track sort of builds up as it progresses. I love how the instruments are steadily added, with the small backbeat and piano leading up to a soft yet grand outro. The lyrics are fairly simple, however they are fitting for the sort of light at the end of the tunnel vibes that we've got going on here. This is a pretty tragic album in my opinion. There's definitely potential in some of these songs, and I do like the direction that he goes in, however it's just so fucking messy. Like, it's pretty obvious that it was written and mastered while we were under the COVID quarantines. There's a lot of short interlude-styled tracks that I didn't cover in the review that seriously break up the pace of the album. There's very little flow or cohesion, and a few of the tracks that I didn't talk about feel like retreaded ground instrumentally. Lyrically, there definitely are some good moments, however, a lot of the more interesting lyrical topics are given to interlude tracks or tracks with really bland instrumentals, which is a huge waste of potential. It feels like this is just what he recorded during COVID, and then he just threw it all onto an album haphazardly with no rhyme or reason. I feel like if Tom waited a bit to give these tracks the proper time and attention that they needed, trimmed the fat a little bit, and also made it sound more consistent, he would have had a winner. Unfortunately though, as it stands, it's an undercooked album with a few gems hidden within it. I'm feeling a strong 4 on the new Tom Odell album. Of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and I think it's an okay album cover. I definitely do get what he's going for. It's this sort of DIY aesthetic that captures the sort of just depressive ambivalence towards everything during the COVID lockdowns, how we just didn't want to do anything, tired all the time, you name it. I feel like it could have had a little bit more design elements added to it. The image maybe could have been a little bit better color palette. However, I do like the sort of CRT filter-esque effect that's on the image and the text. I thought that was pretty good. So it does fit the sort of messy nature of the project, at least. As always, those were just my thoughts on the album. What do you guys think? Was this a pretty interesting snapshot into his quarantine life? Or did you feel it was a little messy and just not given enough time that it needed? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell if you're not a monster. And until the next one, farewell.